Hello, everyone. I welcome you all to the second session of the Maternal Mental Health series. Today, we'll be discussing the emotional journey of a mother following childbirth, understanding the nuances of postpartum mental health, exploring what it means, how it looks, and what are some of the support options available. Today, we have Dr. Richa with us. Dr. Richa is a psychiatrist with over 10 years of clinical experience in this field. She has earned her post graduation in psychiatry from Rajiv Gandhi University and holds a certification in CBT from NIMHANS. She is also a mother to an 18 months old baby boy. Welcome, Dr. Richa.
Thank you so much, Paridhi. Really glad to be here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Richa. And I am your host, Dr. Paridhi Mehra, founder of Happiness, a toddler mother, and someone who has experienced postpartum depression myself. My personal journey fueled my commitment to improving mental well being for growing families. Check out our website www.happiness.life for more details on our work. With that, let's dive into our discussion. So, Dr. Richard, to start with, can you help us understand what are the common feelings or emotions that new mothers might feel after having a baby?
See, childbirth in itself is a very challenging, very exhaustive process. So definitely after, the baby is born, it's very normal for almost all mothers to feel very confused, very lost because let's face it, nothing, even though a happy occasion, but nothing, can actually prepare you for the challenge that is motherhood. A lot of women, it's okay and it's very common for the new moms to have sleep disturbances, questioning themselves, not knowing what way to take forward, what to do with the baby, like how to bond with the baby because they are pretty clueless. So, some mothers again will have additional symptoms like irritability, a lot of mood swings, crying spells, feeling sad and lost for no apparent reason, sleep disturbance, irritability, questioning themselves all the time. And we have a technical term for it called as baby blues.
So, how common are baby blues and is it a serious condition?
So we see that almost 80% of the new moms, that is 4 out of new moms, will have symptoms of baby blues. But the good part is that this condition is usually self-limiting in itself. So we see that the symptoms slowly starts weaning off, and by 2 to 3 weeks, the symptom sort of goes away. So this condition is self-limiting in nature and it can last anywhere up to 2 to 3 weeks.
Right. So when you were talking about, how a new mother feels right after coming back home from delivery, I remember my own time when I came back home with my baby. I was completely lost. I mean, although I had prepared for it, everything was ready. The nursery was ready. I had read all the books I could. But the moment I stepped in, it just felt like, I don't know what to do now. It just felt like I was walking into a parallel universe. So I can totally relate to, when you say that it is so common for mothers to feel confused, they do not know where to go from here, what to do. In fact, in my case, I was asking everyone what to do with the child now, where to keep him. So it's glad to know that it's completely normal for mothers to feel that way.
It is. It is. Actually, the new mom is going through a lot of, like, it's a complete sort of transition for the new mother in every way, like, be it with the physical symptoms, your hormones are fluctuating, you are healing from a major event, be it with any sort of mode of delivery. So that healing is there. Your dynamics with your husband changes, your dynamics sort of with yourself also changes because now, definitely, let's face it, like, the priority is the baby.
Hmm.
So no matter what you do, it's like you always keep on sort of questioning yourself also that am I doing the right thing? I should not do something which is detrimental to my baby and
Absolutely.
but obviously it's very common to feel pretty clueless about what's happening, how to go ahead with it. I always feel that, both the mother and the baby take some time to adjust to each other.
Right, right. Yes, so we've also spoken about, there's a term for at least the initial disturbances called postpartum blues. And you
Yes.
mentioned that it's a very common condition. 4 out of 5, 80% of
Yes.
women go through it. Now, what if this continues? Number one, can it continue beyond the 2 to 3 weeks that you mentioned? And if it does, then what to do from there?
Yes. So, Paridhi, definitely these symptoms can continue, one, and secondly, their severity, intensity can worsen also. Along with it, there is a possibility that we may start seeing new symptoms as well. For example, the symptoms which I mentioned earlier, that mood swings, lability, irritability, crying spells, all these, there is a great possibility that all these continues for a new mom. And new symptoms, for example, losing interest in whatever activities were pleasurable for you earlier, a lot of sleep disturbance coming in, even severe thoughts such as thoughts about harming yourself or the baby can come in. There can be a lot of guilt feeling of inadequacy, that I was not prepared for this, I don't know what to do. There
Hmm.
can be a lot of dysphoria, crying spells, without any reason also you feel very, very lost. There can be sleep disturbances, meaning that you might be getting all the time you can to sleep, but you are still not able to. There can be other biological functions disturbed. For example, your appetite can go for a toss. Right. And even if, you are getting all the time to take rest and everything, you feel intensely exhausted. These symptoms can also be seen, which are much more severe when it comes to the symptoms of baby blues or postpartum blues. We call these symptoms postpartum depression. So, out of those four mothers who were facing those baby blues symptoms, roughly we see postpartum depression in one out of those five mothers. The prevalence of postpartum depression would be somewhere between like 20% roughly.
Okay. And does it only happen to mothers who face postpartum blues, or it can also happen without?
No, no. There is a great possibility that some mother might not have faced postpartum blues, or even if she would have faced postpartum blues, it would have resolved in its stipulated time, that is the initial 2 to 3 weeks. But there is a possibility that again, after a few months, again the mother starts facing those symptoms. So, what we generally see in that stage is that the symptoms which the mother, let's say, if she faced some symptoms during the phase of postpartum blues, what we see generally is that now the new symptoms that are coming up are much more severe as compared to how it was earlier. So there is great possibility that even after the baby blue symptoms getting resolved, you might again develop those symptoms, and definitely that would be classified as categorized under postpartum depression, depending again upon your symptoms profile.
Okay. So, from what I get, number one, it can postpartum depression, as you call it, it can be a continuation of postpartum blues,
It can,
or
yes,
postpartum blues can resolve, and then after some time, more severe symptoms of postpartum depression can come in, or some
definitely.
women who may not even have faced issues in the initial weeks may
Mhm.
suddenly develop postpartum depression. It could be any time during the first year
Yes,
as well.
definitely.
Okay, got it. And I've always thought about it. I mean, even during my time, one of the things that I kept wondering was, shouldn't becoming a mother bring all the women immense joy? Why does it happen in the first place?
So, Paridhi, like we were discussing earlier, childbirth in itself is a very exhaustive process. Your body is trying to recover from a major event, Physically, there is a lot of change that is ongoing. Firstly, there are a lot of hormones into picture to support to support the pregnancy. Secondly, even after the childbirth, for your recovery process, there is a lot of hormonal changes that is happening in your body. Along with your healing, a lot of new hormones come into picture because your body is supposed to, feed the baby. Right. So there is a lot of hormonal changes. There is a lot of physical changes otherwise as well. Okay, the body is trying to get back to pre-pregnant state very slowly. Emotionally, you are struggling. The dynamics, the relationship dynamics changes. The family dynamics changes. The dynamics between your husband and you, that also changes. All these sort of starts impacting your neurotransmitters also. Okay, so the common neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, I'm sure these days everybody is familiar with these names thanks to the internet. So there is a lot of fluctuation that is happening basically. Okay, so that sort of leads to these symptoms, talking biologically.
Okay. So basically, there are biological changes, physical changes, hormones come into picture, your social dynamics with either your
Yes,
partner, your family, everything changes. And the way you
yes,
interact with the world now, your priority also suddenly
definitely.
changes. And that creates probably a confusion, in simple terms, confusion for your brain to process. And that's why, it takes time to adjust to the new reality, from what I understood.
Yes, definitely. It's a new responsibility. Your identity sort of, changes overnight. That now, you are responsible for this tiny human that you have created. And that is how it's gonna go.
Got it, got it. And what are some of the ways to cope up during this period, whether it is postpartum blues or whether it is postpartum depression? What can mothers do as the first step to take things into control?
See, for a new mother, definitely the biggest challenge initially is managing or taking out time.
Hmm.
But I would definitely want them to prioritize their own self also, because, as they say, that you can't fill from an empty cup.
Absolutely.
So definitely, like even something as small as having your cup of tea peacefully for like let's say 10-15 minutes is a big deal for a new mother who is feeling so overwhelmed. Right. So definitely, I would want them to prioritize self care also along with caring for the baby. Little bit of physical activity only after taking clearance from your gynecologist can also be added. Some sort of relaxation techniques can be added, so you can take out some time for just some simple relaxation techniques like deep breathing. You can take out some time to just have, maybe if you're having a meal, just be present 100% in that moment rather than being constantly worried about your baby. you know that also, these things are very very small things, but it goes a long way when practiced on a regular basis. Actually, you should take all the help that you can, from your family members, from your partner, whosoever can help you. It's okay, to take help. It's okay to rely on people who are there, who are there to help you out with it. You can reach out to your friends who are going through the same stage. You can, reach out to family members who have gone through this stage to share their experiences, how they dealt with all the challenges that they would have felt. Reaching out to peer groups. There are various support groups, like you have a support group for from happiness as well. So reaching out to support groups, just venting out, just expressing how you are feeling and knowing that whatever you are feeling is okay. It's not something out of the blue. That also helps many a times. The people who are in the same boat as yours, who are in the same stages of your life, they can give you definitely practical tips as in how they would have managed the difficulties or the challenges that they also faced. And let's say that you have explored all of these options and still you are not able to feel better, then definitely please don't hesitate to reach out to professional help.
That's very valid. You mentioned how self care is important, how talking to another friend, another mother who has experienced similar things comes into picture. I remember from my own time, for the initial months, I just kept feeling that it is just me being a bad mother. Maybe I wasn't ready for this responsibility, which is why I
Mhm.
feel this. In spite of coming from the medical background, in spite of understanding that yes, there is a term for it, when you actually go through it, it is difficult to realize that it is not just you. It is,
Yes,
it is difficult to understand where are all these feelings and emotions coming from. So, like
yes.
you mentioned, for me, also talking to another friend, another mother who had gone through a similar journey just a year before me really helped. You also
I'm
mentioned
glad
about
you had that support.
I know. I think having that kind of a support is very, very important. And
Yes.
um, it's invaluable. Not many people unfortunately have that support, because most women feel um, uh, most women have a fear that they are going to be judged if they talk about this with any of their friends or family, even the close friends. So just having that community, like you mentioned, having that
Yes.
non-judgmental space to just vent out and talk about it,
Yes,
and understand that
definitely.
yes, there are 10 other people having similar feelings, so maybe
And
it's
I'm
okay.
not the only one who is going through all of this. There is
Right.
nothing wrong with me, even if I'm feeling this way.
Absolutely. So you also mentioned about professional help. Number one, you said that if none of these things are working out, then definitely someone should go for professional help.
Yes.
How to understand that yes, this is the time where you definitely need to go for professional help.
Okay. See, Paridhi, as we discussed earlier, that postpartum blues is definitely is mostly a self-limiting condition. The symptoms usually resolve within like 2 to 3 weeks time, after childbirth. If you feel that instead of your symptoms, getting better, they are worsening in any way, or they are progressing for a duration which is much more than 2 3 weeks, or at any given point of time, if you are experiencing severe symptoms, for example, if you are having any thoughts about harming your baby or yourself in any way, you are feeling way too overwhelmed to understand what is happening, then definitely it's non-negotiable and you have to reach out to a professional for help, immediately. It's an emergency sort of a condition, so you should not be delaying seeking help in such scenarios.
And doctor, what are some of the misconceptions about postpartum mental health or maternal mental health that you encounter in your own practice?
I'm glad you asked this question because there are a lot of myths. Probably we can use this platform to burst. So the expectation the family members or even the mother herself from her, that the new responsibility which has come suddenly, like she would be very well equipped to handle it all perfectly. There is no room for any sort of errors, and you should be perfectly doing everything, be it from breastfeeding to handling the baby, changing the diapers, taking care of the baby, like everything you are supposed to do, the moment the child is born. So I feel that instead of overburdening the new mother with the expectations, we should give her time to, adjust to the new role and the new responsibility that is coming after the birth of the baby. Because even if we are 100% prepared, when the moment actually comes, it is a new challenge and we can't deny it. Secondly, there is a lot of myth or expectation from certain partners also, that if you are very career oriented, that is why you are either facing these symptoms, or maybe you didn't want the baby, that is why you are facing these symptoms, or maybe because you wanted the baby so badly, that is why you are not facing these symptoms. There is nothing as such. We spoke about the science behind it, the symptoms. So anybody and everybody, is vulnerable in that period, in that postpartum phase. Anybody and everybody can develop these symptoms. So it's not that only a certain strata of women will face these symptoms, or only a certain strata of women will not face these symptoms. Okay. Thirdly, many times we feel that this is something which we only see in mothers. But let me tell you that we do see fathers also coming up with these sort of symptoms after the childbirth. Because let's face it, like for them also, it's a new added responsibility. Their dynamics with the family, their dynamics with the partner is also changing. So it's okay for the dads also to feel, overwhelmed, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to support the partner, not knowing how to take up the new role and the new responsibility that has come. Many times, even in couples who are adopting a baby, we do see these symptoms in them as well. And in same sex couples, also we do see such symptoms. But generally, it's believed that why would they have these symptoms, but it is something wherein we do very frequently, very commonly, we do see these symptoms in them as well. And most importantly, there are many times wherein people hesitate to seek professional help, even though they have that realization that, something is going wrong, things are not absolutely fine. Because maybe they feel that the moment they go to a professional, they will be hooked on to some medications. Many
Mm.
times people feel that, they should not be taking any medication while they are breastfeeding. But currently, thankfully, like with the new researches, we have medications which are safe to be consumed, even if somebody is breastfeeding, somebody is a lactating mother. So, and again, it's not necessary that even if you present to a professional with the symptoms of baby blues or postpartum depression, depending upon your condition, only your treatment protocol is decided. So, it's not that medication is the one and only thing. Like many times, with the help of psychotherapy combined with medications, we do see great results.
Right. I think that's a very important point that you've mentioned. Many mothers who come to us, even if the symptoms are little severe, they are very, very hesitant in seeking professional support because the first thing that's there on the mind is, I am breastfeeding. So, number one, I cannot go to a psychiatrist because the moment I see a psychiatrist, some medicines are going to be prescribed. We try and convince them through peer support, through multiple consultations with other moms, that that is definitely not how it works. Only if the symptoms are very, very severe, that is
Exactly.
when
Only if it
medicine
is
comes in.
required, then only, we do prescribe medications. And
Absolutely.
secondly, like I would definitely want to use this opportunity to emphasize that it's okay to take medications also,
Yes.
if required. Because we have been speaking about the neurobiology, about the neurotransmitters, getting depleted when you are having these symptoms, all of those. So all the medication does, in simple words, is, balance the amount of neurotransmitters, bring back your neurotransmitters to the baseline where they are supposed to be. So it's okay even if you require medication. And as I said earlier, that there are many medications which are approved for usage during lactation period also.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And one last question would be, any advice for the families who are hesitant in seeking support?
See, Paridhi, like definitely early intervention leads to better prognosis. As like any other mental health or physical health condition, we do see that if we are able to tap in the mild to moderate symptoms, if the intervention is started early, in the journey, we see much better prognosis as compared to when it's very, very severe. Because then, the time required for recovery would be longer, of course. Then, secondly, mother's mental health impacts not just the child's mental health, but the family at large. Right? Because if you are not fine, how are we expecting you to take care of the baby? Right? Many times we do see that if the mother is, very overwhelmed, if the mother is going through some mental health concerns, some anxiety, depressive concerns, there is a hormone, stress hormone called as cortisol, which gets secreted even through breast milk.
Mm.
So we know with proper research that when you are that stressed, that your cortisol levels are on the higher side, it is getting secreted to your baby also, and it is impacting your baby negatively.
Right. I think that is a very important point because again, a lot of mothers come to us and say that they are irritable because the baby, never stops crying and they don't know what to do with that. And I think that's a vicious cycle, like you mentioned, and there's science behind it. They are
There
irritated.
is
The
absolutely.
cortisol goes into the breast milk. The baby consumes it, and then hence the baby is irritated all the time. So it's like a vicious
Definitely.
cycle people don't understand.
So definitely, again, I would want to, reiterate that early intervention is the key, and it's okay to take help. Taking help is not a sign of any sort of weakness.
Hmm.
Rather it's the sign of courage. It's okay to take help if you require it.
Right. I think we've covered most of the important topics, and I would really like to thank you, Dr. Richa, for taking out the time and helping us understand the complexities of maternal mental well being and family mental well being at large. So that's a wrap for today. But before we close, for all those who are watching, remember that as a new mother, it's natural to feel overwhelmed at times, and it's perfectly fine to ask for help when you need it. Remember, it takes a village to raise a child, and there's no shame in reaching out for support when you need it. You can also look up for Happiness and be a part of the Vibrant Moms community and make use of all the resources available for new parents. Also, if you need help or just feel like talking, we are here to support you in any way possible. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much, Dr. Richa, once again for being a
Thank
part of
you
this.
so much, Paridhi. It was actually a pleasure.